All right. So, I know you're probably wondering, where the hell have you been regularly traveling? You ain't put a video on in nine near, what, 32 days, something like that? And I know, okay? A little backlog, all right? Just a little bit of explanation. All right, I'm going to explain it to you, Lucy. All right, so the last video, I went out of town immediately after that last video. I was out of town for like a week and a half. And then my boss had a very old family friend of theirs that they'd known forever, passed away back in Iowa. So we ended up cutting that trip short. We were supposed to be gone another week at least, so that he could come back home and then go back to Iowa for that funeral. All right. So I was back for like a week. And honestly, I didn't really feel like doing much with Jubal. I'm not going to lie. I didn't. I just kind of took the time off. It just kind of happened. And then we immediately went back out of town as soon as the funeral stuff was over with in Iowa. He came back. We went back out of town, went to Nashville, Ohio, Wisconsin, Chicago. That was over 2 weeks, right at 2 weeks. And I just got back just a few days ago. Been trying to decompress and whatnot, because it's stressful. When you're driving on the road, you're in a cheesecake factory all the bloody time. It gets old, people. It gets old, okay? And I know we got Jubal goodness over here, and when I know that, believe me, there's nobody that wants this shit done faster than the regular traveler. I know, but there's other stuff going on, all right? Now, I've been going up and spending a lot of time with this girl that lives in north of me, all right? And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, well, what regularly traveler? The last two that you've mentioned on the channel, because I've mentioned two girls that I was seeing on this channel before. One of them, you had the displeasure of having to see her in one of my videos, but it's not on the channel no more, and it won't ever be. But anyway, the difference between those and this girl is this girl doesn't appear, as of yet, to be a raving psychopath, okay? The other two, raving psychopaths, psycho. Just, and not like in a good, fun way, all right? If you know a lot of guys, you'll hear like, she's crazy, but in a good way. No, I mean like clinical, like it's clinical, all right? And just horrible. If I told you half the stuff, especially with the last one, the one that y'all seen in the videos, if y'all had heard the stories about that one, oh my God, you would unsubscribe right now. You would unsubscribe, all right? But regardless, those are in the past, all right? This girl, very likable, very lovely, very kind, considerate. She's not a psychopath. She's not self-absorbed. She's not a narcissist. She's not manipulative. She's actually quite wonderful in most ways, and basically every way that I would care to mention. But anyway, so I've been spending a lot of time with her, and we've been going around and stuff, and she makes these really cool wooden signs, and she paints them and does all this stuff, and they're really nice, and I'm going to see if I can't get a few made, probably for like the next giveaway when we get to I don't know, 2015, or whatever the next milestone giveaway is. I'm going to see if she can't make us one to do as part of the giveaway as well. So that's that. So my hands have been all over the place. I've been in Chicago, out of state. I've been doing stuff over here with my boss and stuff, and then seeing her up there, and it's all this stuff. So, but yeah, so I'm back. I'm wearing a derby. I'm smoking a cigar. I don't know what more you can want. What more do you want? Okay? I've had this derby for years. I haven't worn it in years. But you know what? If I'm going to dress like I just got off a steamboat from Ireland, then you might as well wear a derby. I wish more men wore derbies. I wish these were in fashion every day, because they're sick, they're sick. And the ugliest dude like me can look pretty decent wearing a derby. Anyway. Now, before I went out of town this last time, I did do some stuff to the Dauntless. So let's carry over there, and we'll talk about that. There's no reason to get you up close. I'll probably put you running. Well, I don't know. Let's put you over here. Actually, let's put you over here. We did some stuff to button it up before I was out of town. So let's talk about that. All right, so we've got the timing chain installed. It's in there. We got the water pump on, installed. It's in there. It doesn't feel like a grenade went off of it. It doesn't feel like Tokyo Bay, all right? You know, the last one felt like I don't know, like the bearing was in Dresden, all right, during the bombing, all right? That's done. Old pump assembly's in there. The only thing to fine tune on this is the relief valve, I believe, or whatever they call it, with the spring that goes into the front here. I need to put the correct spring in it. Right now, I just put the old spring back in it just because I wanted to get it done before I went out of town. I need to get I've got the correct spring, I just got to put it in there. So that's a little thing. I went ahead and put the oil filter back on, poured some oil in it that wasn't filthy. And I took the distributor out, which it was already out anyway. And I turned the oil pump with a drill, okay? And got it hooked up to the measuring apparatus here. And it's hard to keep it because it's not the actual tool to prime the pump with. I had to make it out of a big flathead screwdriver. But we got up to over 20 PSI without me even giving it full beans on the drill. So it's primed now. It got circulated through good. I turned the crank by hand. I primed it, turned the crank a little bit, primed it some more, because I wanted to get everything inside at least somewhat coated in oil before I left it, because it's been raining a lot. So that's good. So basically now what we're going to do is we need to put the distributor in, which it's fighting me for some reason. It doesn't want to fully seat, and I'm not happy with that because it's not wanting to go all the way to its home. But I also haven't spent a whole lot of time monkeying with it, so I don't know. But I think we can get it. I'm just going to mess with it some, make sure our lines are lined up. We need to, which we don't have to do this right now, but we do need to order the gasket for both sides. Go ahead and put new manifold gaskets on it. I'm not going to order those pipes that I was telling you all about because according to the website, they will not work on a Jeep that's pre-1971, I think, or something they claim. So instead of spending $600 on something that may or may not be useful, or I might have to adapt it, we're not going to do that. So we're just going to use the factory manifolds. And we're going to do, I was talking about doing a Y pipe. No, go big, go home. We're going to dual exhaust it. It's not that big a deal. We're just running a pipe down straight with a muffler in it, and bam, you know, we ain't worrying about it. So we're going to put it on there like that. We can worry about that. The only thing we need right now, before we hook it up and start placing it in the engine bay, is we need the motor mounts. And so I need to order the motor mounts because I mentioned in a previous video, I believe the motor mounts that are the most recommended for a Dauntless are from I think I said it was a 75 Skylark. I've got it wrote down. I'm going to have to look it up again. But they're like $12 from Napa. And what makes them superior to the original motor mounts is this. Let me show you. I'll show you, people. Just wait a second. All right. So this and this are the motor mounts that were on the ye old Dauntless. Okay, so there it is. All right. Basically, you've got your rubber part here is basically glued to this piece of metal. All right. And what that means is that it can just separate like it did on this one. So it just fully pulled away, and you can see the epoxy or whatever, or just ripped off. Okay. So say you're out there boot scooting boogieing along up a mountain trail. You got your pup in the back. You're smoking your cigar. Your derby's on. You've got it at a jaunty angle. All right, let's just say that's happening. And for some reason, your motor mount breaks. Well, this design, your motor's just going to sag. All right, because there's nothing holding it on one side. This motor mount that's off the Skylark, I believe it's a Skylark. It is interlocked. So if the rubber fails, it's still interlocked. So you're not going to have it just sag off into the frame, the engine. So we're going to get those because we got to get motor mounts anyway. So we're going to get those. All right. Other little things we're going to do before we go ahead and put it in there, just for ease, is we're going to finish kind of pretending to paint all this, kind of like we care. I can paint the valve covers once it's in there. I'm not worried about that. I can paint the intake with it in there. I'm not worried about that. But I want to paint this other stuff up here. I did paint the timing cover what I could get to while it was upside down, but I got to paint the top of it. I also put the freeze plugs in it before I left. That went surprisingly well. I put some Permatex around them, cleaned out the bore in the side of the block with some sandpaper, and we put those in there. So it's got the new freeze plugs in it. I didn't change the one in the back yet because I can't reach it. I might change it. I might not. The one here in the very back behind where the bell housing goes. Because if it does fail, you won't know it because it'll be leaking in the bell housing. But it looks really good. And I really don't want to mess with it because I'm paranoid these freeze plugs are going to leak anyway. Or expansion plugs, okay? From what I understand, they actually call them, they are casting holes now because basically there was a lawsuit, from what I understand, don't quote me, but from what I've read is that there was like a lawsuit against the fact that they don't really work. And so the logic originally in old times was if it freezes, then these plugs will blow out and it won't crack or block. Well, they don't really do that all the time because they kind of weld themselves into the block. And so there was a little bit of a lawsuit, so the automakers started calling them, you know, like molding holes for moving the block around and stuff like that, and stopped calling them freeze plugs or expansion plugs. I don't know if that's true, but either way. So clean it up a little bit, put a new thermostat in there. We got to get a carburetor for it eventually, but we're not worried about that right now. Basically all the hard stuff is done, and it's been done for about a month, but I've been gone traveling and all this stuff. So as far as putting in the engine bay, I've had a change of heart on this, and so let me walk you through that real quick. This is not going to be a super long video. I'm not really doing anything tonight because I don't have the stuff I need, which is my fault, but regardless. So what we're going to do over here now. Now originally we were going to take these original motor mounts off because you got 4 rivets that hold them on. We're going to cut these rivets, pull the motor mounts off, these original mounts, do away with them, put the new ones on. Me and my brother got to looking at it, and the Dauntless is almost the same length as the L-head. The transmission is dimensionally the same as the transmission that came out of this truck. The transfer case is dimensionally the same as the one that came out of it. So basically, it should be sitting basically happy, you know. And so now you do want the Dauntless as close to the firewall as you can get it. I'm going to try to look and see how it's going to sit in there in relation to the rear drive shaft and to where the original transmission mounted, since it is dimensionally the same. It is the same case. So I want it to sit more or less where the original T90 would have sat. So the difference is here is the motor mounts on the Dauntless are in a different location on the engine block itself. So to compensate for that, we're going to lower it in here, make sure we get our drive shafts hooked up, and at least in the rear. I'm still not convinced we're not going to have to do something to the front drive shaft, but we'll cross that when we get there. Get it kind of where we want it, and then see what we need to do to these mounts. Because what I want to do is I want to leave these original mounts. They're riveted to the frame really well. There's no reason to cut them off if we don't have to. So what we can do is if we need to move it back, then we'll just make an arm that comes over, and we'll use the new bushing that came with my kit with my new motor mounts, and we'll move it. We'll just make an arm extended over that's really hardy and everything and has the new bushing, and we'll hold it. You know, no reason to reinvent the wheel. Because them old timers that were swapping Dauntlesses into these trucks, they weren't ordering fancy motor mounts from Novak and all this stuff. And I'm not real crazy like they're made well, but I don't want to cut things off this frame. Even though it wouldn't do any permanent damage to the frame, I still don't want to do it. So that's the plan right now. If that doesn't work, if we can't figure out a way to make the engine sit in there using the original motor mounts combined with the new pieces, then we'll go back to the original plan. But right now we're going to attempt that. And I think it's very feasible. There's no reason not to. I've seen a lot of pictures of them where they've modified brackets that come off the original mounts to hold the engine. This engine's not super heavy either. So it's not like we're trying to handle a whole lot of, this action, torque action. So I think we'll be fine. Because I measured this block from where it meets the bell housing to the front of it, and I measured that one from where the bell housing meets the block to the front of it, and it's really not that crazy longer. It's really not. I think, if I remember right, you've got to account for the fact how much more it sticks out with the timing cover. But it's not too bad. It's not a crazy length of difference either direction. I know we're not going to be able to run a fan blade, just because I believe from the pictures I've seen it's going to be too far from the radiator to do any good. So that means we're going to have to run electric fans, which I was aware of that before I ever started this. So that's not the end of the world. The electric fans work pretty good if you buy the right ones. You can have a toggle switch in there and just turn them on manually, or you can have them wired up where they kick on at certain temperatures. That's not the end of the world. As far as this goes, we need to scuff up the frame a little bit up here in the front, clean it off, spray paint anything we want to get to with some Rust-Oleum and rust converter, whatever we want, before we put the engine in there, because it's not coming back out unless it's going to be rebuilt. And hopefully that's not anytime soon. Any updates on the Willys? And I want to tell y'all I love you. I love you all. We're gaining subscribers, even though I'm not putting videos on for the last month. So I appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. Not every video is this rambling, but, some people seem to like it. So until next time, until the next video, I'm the Reclay Traveler. I'm going to order the motor mounts tonight. They should be in tomorrow at Napa. I'll go pick them up. We'll slam the engine into the tranny over here and put the clutch in there and all that. And then we'll go ahead and see about position it between the rails. You know what I'm saying? See what it looks like. And then I'm going to go to Birmingham and Huntsville coming up. Then I'm coming back. And then I got to go down to Miami. All right? Miami. Way down there at the tip down there. The, Spanish land, or the conquistadors roamed, all right? Got to go down there for a few days. So there's still traveling coming up. And then I got to go back to Boston. So there's it's a lot. But I'm going to try to get as much done on the Willys as I can. I will see you all shortly. Don't forget, Willys for life, Derbies for life, cigars for life. And just take a look at Jubal. Soak it up. Just soak it up. Soak it up. Look at the beauty. Look at it. Accept it. Be jealous a little bit. I expect it. I'm jealous of myself. I'll be back with y'all before you know it. Hopefully, Lord willing. And by the way, it was also just Easter, so I hope you had a wonderful Easter. And if you don't recognize or celebrate Easter, then I hope you had a good regular day of your week. How about that? But for those of us that recognize Easter, I hope you had a good one. All right? I'll talk to y'all later. Love you. Willys, yeah, get it.